Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today's video is going to be explaining how my landlord told me she is not re-signing my leases. This literally just happened and I was like, I need to make a video about this. This is like my biggest fear, one of them, when I decided I wanted to become an Airbnb host, and now I am living in that reality. So I'm gonna take you through the process kind of what I've been doing since I found out, my thought process, and then also a recap of how much these properties have made me within the past year. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, comment down below any video requests, and also thumbs up this video. It helps boost the algorithm so more eyes can see it. Don't have your post notifications on, turn them on, but I'm going to be posting a new video every single Thursday. All my social media will be linked down below. So let's get started. So these 3 units were the first ever units I ever got for Airbnb. And I landed them in September of 2022. We're in August currently, today is August 2nd, so we're coming up on almost a year since having these units. I ended up going through a referral process with another influencer, guru, and ended up getting scammed out of like 15 grand. The property was definitely not what it should have been from the pictures I received, so I was very upset about that, and the whole move-in process was just not great. The influencer gave me the wrong address. I had all of my packages shipped to a completely different address across the street for 3 properties, which was a nightmare. And then also the leasing agents and the property management team was just very rude. I never really had a great experience working with them, and I feel like I'm a pretty approachable and nice person, so there's really no need for confrontation. But throughout my whole entire lease, it has just been a problem. They're just very rude, inconsiderate. Also, many times would neglect my maintenance requests, so there would be things like the ceiling literally falling apart, or the sink or dishwasher not working, or the shower dripping. They would just literally neglect my maintenance things and said that actual residents had maintenance requests that they were prioritizing and we were at the bottom. So just things like that. It really was not a great first experience. In the beginning, I was like, is this how it's always going to be working with apartment complexes when doing corporate leasing? Do they just always kind of throw you in the back of the barrel? I thought it was pretty surprising because I'm taking over 3 units as one person, and the relationship between 2 of us have always just been kind of rocky from the jump. Starting off, the rents were $1,500 up to $1,700. So 2 of them are around $1,500, and then the third is a little bit bigger in a newly renovated part of the apartment complex, and it is $1,700. So on average, I would say monthly, I've been bringing in between $3,000 and $3,500 depending on the month. But recently, I would say in 2023, it's kind of just been like a downhill slope for these properties. Also, another thing to note is these are C listings, so they're not luxury, they're not super nice, they're kind of just normal. And I think with the popularity of Airbnb and Austin as a location in general, the area has just became super saturated. Still have noticed since about 2023, the numbers have just kind of gone down. Still been making money, which is great, because at the end of the day, as long as I'm making profit, I don't really care. $1,500 or $1,000 or $500, profit is profit. So at the end of the day, I'm happy that they're continuing to make me profit, but as the months have gone, profit has continued to deteriorate. And I think that has a lot of factors, like I said, the saturation, and then also just with the saturation, my units are not really prioritized anymore, even though their location is prime. So if we do the math on that, let's just say we had a slow month of bringing in $3,000 in revenue. Rent, let's just say for the most expensive one, so we can really get the most accurate numbers. That leaves me with about $1,300 for expenses. So I did have to pay, obviously, my cleaning team, which I would say was probably about $500 this month. And then utilities, which probably about $300, leaves me with about $500 in profit. So these are assuming the worst numbers. So the worst amount of revenue and the highest rent. Leaving me with about $500 in profit, which is not great. Other units are making me like $1,500 to $2,000 a month in profit, so very drastically different. But I mean, $500 is $500, so I guess it's okay. But when I first started with these properties, I was bringing in $2 grand, $1,500, nothing less than $1,000. To go from $1,000 to $500 is kind of just like, eh. Keep in mind, I haven't really added much to these units. What I paid when I first did them is kind of just what's been in there. I haven't upgraded anything. I really wasn't sure if I wanted to renew the leases anyways coming up in September. It kind of was just like a I guess I'll see what they say. If they do allow me to renew, I want to switch units and get better units because there's other units in this property that are nicer than mine, and I have like some of the most expensive rent. I wasn't investing too much back into the property. My newer units are completely different, like a 360. Keep in mind, these were my first properties, so there was a lot of learning. I didn't really do everything right, and I kind of just, because they weren't doing so well and the lease was about to end, I just really didn't want to invest any more money in them because I was unsure about what to do next. September 14th will be a full year of them going live. From all three of them combined, I've made about 100K, which I think is pretty good for the quality of them and them being C listings. 100K for 3 properties, I'll take it. It definitely was a huge learning curve. These are like really molded me and taught me a lot with Airbnb since they were my first units. And now I'm on to bigger, better things. So that probably leads you guys to wonder, how did I find out that they weren't renewing my leases and kind of how am I feeling? I called the property manager and I basically expressed to her, hey, you know, the end of my lease is coming up. I'd love to talk about possible renewing the leases or, you know, ending our partnership. And she told me that the company actually ended up getting bought out. So the original property management company, which is who I signed with, got bought out by a bigger company, and she said that they are completely ditching all of their corporate leases. Keep in mind, this whole entire building is basically Airbnb. I would say like 70% of it is Airbnb. She told me that all 100 of them are completely cut. They're not renewing a single corporate lease, which I think is crazy because from a business standpoint, I would 100% love to renew corporate leasing, like corporate leases if I was an owner, just because it's so hassle-free. But she was like, no, they're not renewing a single corporate lease. I got off the call and I was like, wow, okay. Well, that made my decision a lot easier. I don't have to argue with her about getting new units. But what do I do now? I definitely don't think they gave me enough time, enough notice legally to be able to like tell me they're not renewing my lease. So I'm also gonna have to figure that out because it definitely wasn't 30 days and I'm pretty sure it has to be 60, but it depends on your state. So I'm gonna have to look a little bit more into that. Now, currently, where my brain is at is trying to find new units. So I would hate to knock 3 units off of my portfolio, even though they aren't bringing me tremendous revenue. So I would love to find 3 more units that I can just take all of this furniture and the properties and switch it over to 3 other units. But if I cannot make that possible, then I'm probably just going to like do a garage sale inside the apartments and be like, you can have it all. That's one option, or another option is just referring all of the furniture to someone else who already does Airbnb, has a new unit locally in the area, and kind of just wants all the furniture for their own unit. So that's also an option. So I'm kind of playing with both. I've been in contact with some people who are potentially interested in buying the whole furniture group, the appliances, utensils, linens, all of that, because they already run Airbnb and they're getting new units. And then I've also been in touch with some properties who have available units, and I'm kind of trying to see if it's worth it or not to move into them. I also am moving August 27th, so right in the middle, and actually tomorrow I'm going out of town to visit family and to go to Canada to visit a friend. So I'll be gone for like 2 weeks, leaving me with like a week to make all of this happen. So super interesting. Overall, that's where I'm at currently. I know a huge question is, what do you do if your landlord doesn't renew? And these leases were only 12-month leases. I was not able to negotiate a longer term lease. Like I said, this were my first units, so I really had no clue what I was doing, to be honest. And I think this goes back to the point of, you want to sign those longer leases. If it's making you money, you're gonna want to stay. Luckily, you know, my other units, I've been able to negotiate longer leases, and hopefully this doesn't happen again. But I think it's super important to be transparent and honest about my journey, just to help other people and, you know, not sugarcoat everything. I never thought that this would happen, but here I am being like, my landlord won't resign my leases, and I've been like the best tenant ever. Always paid my rent, had the best guests, been super communicative, even though they kind of treated me like shit. So that's where we're at now. We're here and we're gonna figure it out. I probably will have a part 2 to this video, and within a month kind of going over what I decided to do and how that process looked. If you